that was the engine that fueled the creativity.
Chef Josh Niland revolutionised cooking.
You know, I came up with the fish eye chip. I came to work one morning and I was like, you know those prawn crackers you get at the Chinese restaurant? Like, let's do that out of fish eyes because it should work.
Obviously. But Josh hasn't got to where he is without his struggles.
2 days after my 8th birthday, I was diagnosed with a Wilms tumour. And then I just turned and looked at Mum and I said, Mum, am I going to die? And I think that was the first time I ever saw Mum cry.
It's a tough thing to have to leave your childhood a bit early.
Yeah.
Then, like some sort of genie, the Starlight Foundation showed up.
They literally come and knock on your door and say, your son's able to have a wish. What would you like to do? And at that point in time, there was no parameters around what that wish looked like.
What was the wish?
So the wish was that...
Oh, no. Was it?
Yeah.
That's proper magic, isn't it?
This is the Vulnerabilitea House.
For so long, there's been a huge question that so many of us have had, like since growing up, I think. And hopefully today with Josh Niland, we can find out which fish has fingers.
It's a great question, right?
Yeah, I've always thought that.
Okay, funny story. Like when I worked at Fish Face in Darlinghurst with a chap named Stephen Hodges, who's arguably the best fish cook in the country, he changed Fish Face to become Fish and Chips by Fish Face. And so then we tested out all these secondary cuts of fish, like all these bycatch fish. And
what's a bycatch fish?
Well, it's a fish that comes up with what you wanted, but there's a couple other ones over here. And what are we going to do with these ones?
I thought it might have been two people caught it at the same time.
Mine. No, so, you know, Steve started saying, we've got to get a few different species through the door. It's less fancy restaurant and more fish and chipper vibe. Mm-hmm. So let's have a look at some things. Anyway, we got a gummy shark, so a little tiny shark. And it came in, it had like these two arms, like either side of it, underneath its fins. And I'm like, what's that?
Two arms?
Yeah, like there's these two rods basically coming down out of its fins on the underside.
Oh.
I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh, you know. And so then went home, tried to read up a bit about it, look online. Turns out they're claspers. And claspers are a shark's penis. And they have two.
Oh. Wow.
So there you go.
That's why it's a bycatch.
Yeah, that's right. And so the next day then I've cut them off and, you know, gone and cooked them and then crumbed them in breadcrumbs and then deep fried them and put crumb shark clasper on the menu, but called it crumb shark cutlet.
Really?
Gummy shark, yeah.
Not shark dick.
Yeah, well.
Shark.
Wow. Podcast for another time.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, we're right into it.
Yeah.
I wonder how many species have two penises and which one I would prefer to use.
Guilty. Well, I mean, this is obviously people know, but Josh Niland, you are like really in the food world. I mean, Hugh, I know you probably want to give a little bit of context here, but you are one of the big dogs in the chef world.
The big fish.
One of the big fish. It's true. And it is like
You're a big fish in a big pond. That's how big he is.
And I mean, I love going to restaurants, and I'm very excited to talk to you today, because I'm going to try not to make it too much about just food and food things, and I'm sure Josh is the same, because Josh loves food. Hugh loves fish fingers, so maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, chef, restaurateur, author. Your book, in 2019, the Whole Fish Cookbook, so you'd end up being the first Australian to win the James Beard Foundation's Book of the Year award. That's amazing.
It is. Yeah.
That's kind of the Oscars of cookbooks, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's I think internally in the chef world or in the food world, there is that reverence towards that body that hands out. It's like Michelin and things like that. And I think for a lot of cooks here in Australia, we know about it, but it's not necessarily like within our spectrum of, hopefully I win that one day. Because it's not like in America, it's like that's their chef of the year, that's their restaurant of the year, that's, you know, that's what they're kind of chasing. And then to get a nomination for the Whole Fish, I was like, wow, that's serious. Somebody over there read it. That's cool.
But it must have been so, at the time, I remember when you first sort of came on the scene, so to speak, or when I first heard about you, it was quite revolutionary what you were doing.
Yeah. We set out with the task, like we really wanted to showcase the quality and diversity of Australian seafood. That was the primary objective, and I suppressed my desire to make it anything more than that by putting the little heading underneath St. Peter, an Australian fish eatery. And so by using the word eatery, it was kind of like this, okay, it's all right. It's just
Grounding
a
it a
really
bit.
nice little spot where you can come in. You can have an entree and a glass of wine and go, or you can come and have some cheese and then go. You don't have to do anything. Just use it. And it's a 34-seat restaurant, and we opened. And I think getting the first fish bill, like the first invoice for fish, and it came in at like $4,500 worth of fish. I was like, bloody hell, this is
What?
like I knew the money we were spending on fish at Fish Face, and I knew in restaurants it was always that premium, don't mess this up kind of product. And I think to get on with the story, there was probably 6 or 7 months into doing what we were doing, and I hadn't been home. Like I was working so much, like, and every chef would say the same thing, like you just work your guts out until you get it right. But it's never going to be right, so you just keep working.
Yeah.
And I think in that period of time, my wife had another child, and I hadn't really, seen the kids. I hadn't seen her, and it was just a lot. And
How old were you when you opened it?
26,
26.
Wow.
Is that young to
Yeah.
open your own restaurant?
I think so.
Yeah.
And in that period of time, getting into that 6-month mark where I was broken, I'm tired, and I was I need to change something. The solution was, let's throw people at it to fix it. So I'll get more chefs and I'll get more staff and go. And so I put all these bodies at it, and then I'm like, okay, I can take a day off. You know what I mean? But then winter hits, and you're less shiny and less wonderful than you were when you first opened, and all these other cool restaurants have opened, and Vivid in the cities just started. So we're going to go over here. And then all of a sudden your wage costs has ballooned. The food costs has remained constant at 35%, that, because you're never going to budge on the quality of product you're buying. And with all the costs rising and revenue plummeting, then the accountant's in the ear most mornings going, what are you going to do? Because you're not, like, it's not going to work. You're going to have to sort it out. And so we got to the point where I said, I'm not going to lose anyone. I'm not going to get rid of anybody, because they've all come because they're excited to work for us. And so I started putting trays on top of all the garbage bins, and anytime anybody wanted to throw anything away, it'd hit the tray, and then I'd catch it, and then we'd pack it away at the end of the night, and I'd come in the next morning and try to come up with something to do with all this stuff that we were casting aside.
How much of the fish was cast aside?
About half.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that the whole fish philosophy was from the very start, but it wasn't.
No, it was from the very beginning. It was obviously, like I said, just buying great Australian fish and diversity, because there's so much wonderful fish here, rather than just barramundi and salmon and all this sort of stuff that you constantly see. We had sardines, we had, wild kingfish, all these lovely fish, and that was the priority, show people how good it is. But then it was that moment where it was, what are we doing with the other half? Like, what are we doing with
of that?
the hearts and spleens and the actual stomach and the eyes and all the actual heavy stuff? Like, what are we doing with that? And, that original fish bill of $4,500, that's $2,250 that's going in the bin. And so rather than stripping great people who are attracted to working for you out of it, then let's fix the problem that we can actually solve, and let's creatively try to work this out. And so literally I was getting, my wife talking to me constantly, like, what are we going to do? Like, this is really bad. And like, accountants, like, you're not going to make it. And I just said, I've just got to get to September. And I know that sounds silly. I just kept saying September, just because that's the restaurant awards and all this sort of stuff. And I thought, if we were to get there, then we might be able to get enough steam up to get through summer. And, I came up with the fish eye chip. I came to work one morning and I was like, those prawn crackers you get at the Chinese restaurant? Like, let's do that out of fish eyes, because it should work.
Obviously.
So I blended them up into this porridge, and then added some tapioca flour to it, spread it out on a tray, steamed it, dried it, and deep fried it. And it was this almost chicharron, puffy pork rind thing. And I was just like, that's pretty cool. And I ate it and I was like, that's delicious, and doesn't really taste like anything. It's like a little bit anchovy-esque. And then what we did for that is we started putting it down on everybody's tables when they sat down. We didn't tell them what it was. It's just, here, try it, this. And then they were like, oh, yum, drink, and off they go. End of the meal, what did you think of dinner? Oh, we had a great time. Thanks so much. And they're like, what did you think about the chip that you had? And then they're like, yeah, that was great. What was that? And you're like, fish eye. And that was the response. It was that little giggle and a bit of like, oh, wow, that's fun. And then they'd leave. And I think that really narrow point of view and that unique approach to utilizing the whole fish wasn't born out of clickbait. Like, that's not what it was, but it was to say, how do I get a Western audience to consume the entirety of a fish with deep comfort and like, that's delicious. I want another one. Because all throughout Asia and Middle East, everybody's eating everything because that's what they've grown up enjoying.
Yeah.
And I grew up knowing that salmon lived in a tin.
Well, there's a lot of, I guess like when people also think of, fancy restaurants or like restaurants of like a high quality, it's very rare, and understandably, it's very rare that you also think of like play and fun. But there's sort of like it's like a sense of fun in a fish eye chip.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, what? It's like, I didn't think you could do that. It's sort of like breaking conventions in a fun way.
Well, it was fun because it's deep fried, it's crunchy, and it's salty. So the deep comfort you feel upon that arriving to the table is removed of the anxiety of slimy eyeballs in a bowl. Like, I don't want to eat that. And so I was always trying to find those little things. As a group, we were always trying to find these things that made people more comfortable and to remove the trepidation and fear out of what seafood is to a lot of people. It usually comes with a connotation of odor and cold and wet and slimy and bony.
Yeah.
So anyway, September came. And fortunately, St. Peter won Best New Restaurant in the country and for the good food and yeah, very, very cool. And that spurred on a really good amount of bookings for the rest of the year.
It's a great story.
It's incredible, isn't it?
But
Wow.
yeah, that's the first 6 months were pretty gnarly. Like it was like a lot of days and nights where, I tried to write about it as best I could in my new book. Just to kind of go, there were nights where you're there at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're kind of, trying to clean up after everything had happened. And you sent the chefs home because it's like, you guys can't be here. Like, go home, go sleep. And then you're there. And I wrote one particular little bit saying like, I'm there scrubbing and then like, I'm on the ground. I'm like scrubbing out, knock this pot. And then all these pots like hit me on the head. And I'm just sitting there like, this sucks. Like, when does this actually get better?
Get cool.
Or is it, when will it get better?
Hi, it's Ryan from the Imperfects, and I'm reaching out to you now because we need your help, gosh darn it.
Hang on, why do we need...
Sorry, no, I'm just making a plea to the listeners and viewers to ask them to subscribe to the show in whichever way they see fit, because it really helps. The more subscribers, the better we can make this show, am I right?
Yeah, but I don't think we need to. I think we could just ask them politely.
Yeah, but if I use the emotional music...
I think the music's a bit much.
Is it?
Who's playing that music?
Doesn't matter who's playing the music. The important thing is we're pulling at the heartstrings and asking them to do us a solid.
Could we not just ask them straight? Like,
Oh.
It would really help us if you guys subscribed because we would be able to make more of the show and make the show better.
Oh, and not use emotional manipulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon.
We can give it a go, but I doubt it'll work. This is a Vulnerabilitea House episode, and because you're a chef, and I think a big part of what this show is, I guess, is finding out like who people are outside of what people actually know publicly. So we've got our Vulnerabilitea House cards in front of you, Josh, and on each of these cards, some people don't know, but on each of these cards is a question, and if you just pick the top 3 cards and read them out. And if one of those questions sparks like a memory or a story about you or your life or something, then and you're comfy to share it with us,
Sure.
that would be great.
All right. What do we got here? So, how do you celebrate success and do you feel like you've achieved it?
Well, that's an easy one. Second one is, how do you cook fish?
What moment from your life are you grateful for that profoundly changed you? And then what do you find yourself spending money on when you're feeling emotional? Food. No. I like the middle one.
Which one's that one?
What moment from your life are you grateful for that profoundly changed you? Yeah. I suppose the first thing that springs to mind is probably more a feeling of hindsight more than anything. There's a level of gratitude that I feel towards my mum and dad towards my family and my sister, and only in sort of, I won't say now because it was probably a little earlier than now, but only now at 37 and being a father of 4 and married and house and business and stuff like that, do I now respect and appreciate deeply what they did at the time when I was 8. So I'm 2 days after my 8th birthday, I was diagnosed with a Wilms tumor. So I had a stage 2 tumor develop on my right kidney as a kid. And
what's a Will's?
So Wilms tumor. So it's what do they say? It's one of the more common tumors. So it's different to leukemia.
Right.
This tumor, the Wilms tumor, attaches itself to the kidney. It has usually a fairly high success rate of recovery, but given that this one was found in stage 2, it was already kind of rapidly starting to develop in size and stuff. So in that year, it was in I was 7, and I think I remember around being in June for my sister's birthday, I had glandular fever. I was quite crook, and then throughout the year I had quite a few colds and flus, and I was just a little bit off the boil for the whole year. And then I had my 8th birthday, the Macca's party, which was pretty cool. Did the limbo and, had the ice cream cake.
The limbo at the Macca's party?
Yeah, it was
Really?
good. Yeah, East Maitland and near the Green Hills there.
Yeah.
So I had the Macca's party, and then the next day I didn't go to school just because I was pretty wiped out, and Mum scheduled a doctor's appointment for the next day. And so I took the day off sick, and we all put it down to a bit of a sugar hangover. And then the next day, I remember getting up in the morning and I lifted my pajama T-shirt up over my head. And then as my arms went up, then a physical lump dropped down out of my rib cage. And Mum saw it straight away.
Dropped down out of, how does that work? What do you mean?
Well, pretty much just this softball-like sized mass became apparent upon my arms being up and then down. And I felt it physically, but then Mum saw it, and then I looked down and there's a little bump there, and I was like, I haven't seen that before. And so then we went to the 8 o'clock appointment at the local GP that we'd all gone to since we were kids, had little kids, and then they said, okay, we're going to have to do a few tests. So a few tests turned into from 8 a.m. till about 4:30 in the afternoon worth of blood tests and pokes and prods and MRIs and CAT scans and ultrasounds and all of that. And then we get to 4:30 in the afternoon and we're sitting in this office together. I'm starving because they just said you can't eat for the day. And I just remember, the doctor said, your son's got a Wilms tumor. You got to get him to the hospital as quickly as you can. He can either go in the ambulance with us now, or you guys can you can get him there.
So I said it in front of you. You were there for that. Right?
It was my mum and I in the office, and I straight away was like, "Yeah, can we go in the ambulance? That sounds pretty cool."
Yeah.
And
can you remember your mum's reaction?
I was, from all accounts in my mind, this stoic kind of, not necessarily unfazed. She was very emotionally kind of charged about it, but she didn't cry. She didn't react. She was just taking information in and needing then to go and do what needed to be happen.
Yeah.
So we leave, we get in the car, we're driving back, and I can remember getting about halfway home. And it's funny that the things that you actually remember, because you're sitting halfway from home in the car. It's a pretty nice day. Sun's coming into the car. It's a pretty nice day. And you're at the traffic lights, and then I just turned and looked at Mum and I said, Mum, am I going to die?
Am I going to die?
Yeah. And now in hindsight, it's pretty heavy chat, to throw out and say. But at 8, the only context you have of cancer is I'm old and I'm going to die.
Yeah.
That's it. So at that point, and only at that point, then did Mum cry. And I think that was the first time I ever saw Mum cry. And that was super hard, because then the severity of the situation became very real. And we got home, and it was pretty
Sorry, but did she have an answer to that question?
No, I think that's what made her cry.
Right.
And she, I just I got upset as well, and we kind of just pushed on with it and we drove home. I didn't need an answer, I don't think, but yeah, I would have done the same thing. So I got home and it was about 5 o'clock, and I can remember it was a Wednesday, and 5:30 was always when we went to swimming, and my sister was in her swimmers ready to go. She had a cap on, I think. She was like ready, and she's like, "Why are you so late?" And I've got to get to this, and she was pretty intense. and then Mum and I came in and we said about everything. Everybody got changed. All the bags got packed from swimming gear to hospital gear, and everybody got in the car and we went to the John Hunter Hospital in Newcastle, which was about 30 minutes away. Doctors there, again, this is from my memory. Mum probably listening to this is going, "Oh, that didn't happen." But in terms of timeline, from my memory was we went to John Hunter. They poked and prodded and they said, "You got to get to Sydney." And so then another 2 hours in the car down to Sydney. Sydney Children's Hospital had just opened in Randwick, and it was a brand new thing. And so we went there, and I remember getting out of the car and walking into the lobby, and the whole thing smelled like fresh paint. Like I could just smell paint.
Wow.
And it's amazing that you can remember everything.
Yeah.
And then I remember everybody being super chipper. Like everybody was really lovely. And they kind of came over, "Hey, how you going?" And, come on through. And we got settled. And then this chap named Professor Valls, he was the surgeon who was going to do everything. Anyway, he came in, he had a Sharpie and he's drawing all over my stomach. "We're going to do this and check out this." And he's trying to make it as comfortable and not necessarily exciting, but just he's being very kind.
How long is this since you first found out from the GP or from
hours?
hours?
Yeah.
Whoa. So you're still in shock, and your mum's in shock.
Yeah. And and so then from there, just getting me prepped basically for surgery, and that was pretty much the following day. And yeah, they there were some complications prior to the surgery, and they said to Mum and Dad that part of the tumour's broken off and now it's sitting on his vena cava, which is what sits next to your aorta. And they then put heart bypass surgery on standby just because they said that it might get complicated. And anyway, went into surgery. I can't remember how long it went for, but it was quite a long surgery just because there was some details to it. The tumour they took off my vena cava was the size of a 30-watt light globe, and then the size of the tumour on my right kidney was the size of a 12-month-old baby head.
What?
And the tumour was that big that it had pushed my right kidney, around to the front, which is why then I had this mass at the front of my stomach when really your kidneys are at your back.
Oh.
So they basically opened me up from here, and one at the top. So I've got a triangle scar basically, and they've opened that way, and then kidneys come out. They've got to the reason they had to go up was because it was sitting close to my heart, and and successful in the sense that the tumor came out, both tumors came out, the whole kidney came out, and then I went into intensive care, and throughout that time, I think because the Children's Hospital was so new, they had all these, celebrities and sort of things going through the place. And, at one point there was a photo of me with the bananas in pajamas, which was pretty cool. And another one with Scooby-Doo and Shaggy over my bed. And then, the Randwick Rugby Union team, like David Campese's shorts, they're like holding up, like, they're getting all these great, these great shots of me just like this. And I'm just like out of it with tubes and wires and things coming out of me. And so I'm in there for quite a while, the best part of a week. And then after that,
in intensive
care. And I can remember when I woke up, I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. The pain of just everything having moved and like just pulled and stretched and all that. That was, so that was intense. And the gratitude now that I feel, not only for my mum for just sitting in the hospital room by herself on a chair, like just waiting, you know what I mean? And hoping, but then my dad, who's running, his own business, like at the back of our house, he's a tax agent accountant back then, and getting my sister to and from school and making sure that the normality of a 10-year-old girl's life continues. And, so all of that it's only something now that I can look at and go like, unbelievable people that are still married and happily married. And yeah, just how much you're able to take from what that experience must have been like for them, and then you take it forward to how then you approach your own relationships and your marriage and the kids, and yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Do you have a memory of when you were like trying to get back in? So going back to school, for example.
Yeah.
What that was like?
Yeah, I can remember getting, like, Dad came down. It was pretty exciting that I was able to leave the hospital, and I think I was leaving the day of Melbourne Cup, because I remember them putting up all the horseshoes and the little foil ponies around everywhere in the ward that I was in. And I can remember there was a really lovely guy who was a painter, an artist, and he was finishing the walls of the Sydney Children's Hospital. He was doing murals and stuff. And I can remember walking past there a few times with Mum, and I had a frame and I was walking along, and, you know, and I saw this guy at the end, and he was finishing off the sneakers on a koala, like on the wall, like there's a koala wearing sneakers. And it was like this cool purple and yellow shoe. I think it was a Nike or something. And he'd written my name in the cell, like in the air cell of the back of that thing. He goes, check out this. And I'm like, that's so cool. I think I went to the Starlight Room a few years back before we did the Starlight dinner at the Four Seasons, but I think I remember seeing that was still there.
Wow.
So, but that was, you know, leaving the hospital was really nice. Everybody was super excited when you get to leave, you know what I mean? And the Starlight Foundation in particular at that time were really great, because, you know, PlayStations and all that stuff was so amazing to have, like, in a special room, and it was a bit of a breakout. And I remember getting into the car, and it was relatively late in the evening, and I can remember the pain of the seatbelt.
Oh,
I couldn't, like, I had like 2.5 hour trip home with my seatbelt just held away from my stomach, because it's like, if it goes that way, then it's just literally across where I've, you know, had all my operations. So it was an uncomfortable trip home. But then I said to Mum and Dad, like, I'm going to school tomorrow, like 100%. Like, I want to see my friends. I want to, you know, get back to normal. And so I remember walking across the big
Oval
playground, like it's a big slab of concrete.
Quadrangle.
Yeah, quadrangle. And I was walking across, and always the naughty kids of the class get sat in the front of the class. And there was one particular boy, Adam, he was always in the front chair. And I can just remember him looking outside the door of me walking across the quad, and he yells out, "Josh is back, and he's got no hair." And I come into the classroom, no hair. Chemo had started.
Oh, chemo had started, yeah.
Chemo had started, no hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, just
and how did you
a shadow of myself.
I mean, it's quite amazing that you were so keen to go back to school. I guess you're only 8, but like, do you remember being self-conscious about the fact that you?
No, I don't think I felt overly self-conscious. I was very, like, cautious about how I was moving. I didn't want anybody to touch me or kind of knock me or anything. So I was a little bit, like, sensitive in that sense, but I was just excited to see everybody. And also, like, there was a level of, like, that's pretty cool. Like, you know, this happened, and, you know, they did all this, and you're at the class and you're telling them what's going on.
It's a decent show and tell.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then you're just desperate to find some rhythm again. Like, you just want to get back into it. Like, oh, when can I start doing soccer, and when can I, you know,
But was there a sense of, at that age, of how potentially lucky you were? Like, did you feel like there was a chance you wouldn't make it at any point, and you immediately had gratitude for being alive? And did you feel like it was like you were getting another chance, or?
I think there was that certain, that the aspect of reminiscing on when I asked Mum, you know, whether I was going to die or not, and then I'd come kind of through it a little bit, even though at that point in time you're only just starting, because you're on the precipice of this 18 months of chemo in front of you, and you've just finished the radiotherapy, and, you know, you start doing this rhythm of chemo, which was intense. Like, it was, you know, you'd have 2 doses a week, one that took half an hour to administer, and then the other one took 3 hours. And the one that took 3 hours was orange, and it was wrapped in foil, and it was always kept in the fridge. And when it was dripping into you for 3 hours, that's all. Like you could feel every inch of where it was going and what it was doing, and it was
Wow.
and it was just
And you're 8 years old for that. That's just
and you're there and they're finding the vein on your arm every time, and it's really uncomfortable. Like just as a, it's one thing to have chemotherapy, but then just the needle, like and doing the arm every time. And then they said, "Oh, we think your son should have a portacath." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. What's that?" And then they said, "Oh, it's basically like a Coke bottle lid, and we'll put it in his chest, and that attaches to a tube that goes up into, the main, jugular in your neck, and then that dispenses the chemo out. So that'll be good." And
so no more needles.
No more finding,
Yeah.
veins in your arm. So okay, we'll do that. Put the portacath in. Then the needle changes from being a traditional one to then what looks like a little white rectangle with like a crooked key kind of shaped needle. And then they put that into your chest, which just goes straight into the portacath. So it is essentially a port for the needle to hit. And then the chemo goes in. So it's a little less stressful. Still full on, but less stressful. Get to about, however long it might have been, 8 months or something after starting chemo. They put the portacath in. They start to administer the 3 hours of chemo. I'm screaming for the first 20 minutes, like in complete agony, pain. And everybody, I think at the time, felt like I was being dramatic, and I was kind of having a bad day. But then it turned out that the needle had missed the portacath, and then the best part of the first period of dosage of the chemo had gone into my left armpit and burnt all the muscle fibers under my arm. And so then they took it out, and mum's there trying to hold me together, and it did feel like 2 steps forward, like 10 steps back, and then I got really worried, like, does this mean that I've got to do all this? And, I think there's even footage of the Australian Story where it actually shows that kind of happening. And it was incredibly traumatic, and it was really...
That happening to you?
Yeah.
There's footage of it?
Yeah, I think so. Like, because the NBN, or Channel 9 kind of parent kind of company in Newcastle, they were doing a documentary called One Day at a Time. And they were following the stories of half a dozen kids that were crook and leukemias and brain cancer and all this sort of stuff. And I was one of those kids. And they were watching this chemo happen, and I was in pain, and that was it. And then they basically said, "Look, your son's going to have to undergo some hydrotherapy to start rebuilding the muscle under his arm." So then I start doing hydrotherapy, which, was another couple of hours out of school, which is always annoying. I get there, and there's this wonderful woman named Anne, and she was my instructor. She would bring me date and walnut loaf that she would make, and it was the most delicious thing. And she definitely helped me put a few kegs on at that time. And
at the end she goes, "Guess what? This is made of fish eye."
That's right. and it's not for making the story incredibly horrible, but you do that for a couple of months, and it feels like things are getting better and all of that. But then the hydrotherapy causes you to get, ear infections, and then you get your ears drained a couple of days a week, which is miserable for anybody that's had that before. And then turns out that then Anne goes away for a family camping trip, and she was camping near the river, and she rolled in, and so she died, and it was another just blow at a time where all this stuff is either seemingly getting better or getting significantly worse. And then you become less enthused to want to go do hydrotherapy anymore, because the lady
So Anne was the hydrotherapy teacher.
And she went camping with her family, and she was in a sleeping bag, and she's rolled out of the tent.
While she was sleeping?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, so heavy.
Did you, at this point, like, this is obviously in a short amount of time, relatively speaking, for your life at that point.
Yeah.
That's a lot of tragedy.
Yeah.
And like scary things and near misses and like maybe you're not thinking it, but maybe your parents are thinking like, like this is too much. Like, how does it get better from here? Like, how do we? Are you thinking that?
Well, to put it perhaps in the light of mum and dad, they've always had a very strong faith. My father, upon me going into Sydney and becoming a chef and moving from home at 17, 17, 18, I moved to Sydney by myself. I was 17. And at that point, I think my sister was well and truly at uni and studying and stuff, but then Dad decided to stop being a tax agent and accountant, sold his business, and then decided to become a minister in the Anglican Church.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's a minister. And I think perhaps for Mum, she said to me when I was at the hospital, like in intensive care, there was a night where she felt there was somebody came into the room, a presence of a figure came into the room and told her that everything's going to be fine and your son's going to be fine. And from that point, I feel like Mum, she managed to keep a really firm grip on the fact that everything will be fine. And Dad was the same. He was, focused on making sure that, business was fine and, kids are fine and we're okay. At no point in time did the wheels ever feel like it came off. There was always stability and there always felt like there was a clean, safe and happy home to go home to. And at no point in time did Mum and Dad come home from work. They were at home. Like the business was at home.
Yep.
So Mum would pick me up from school. She'd drive me to the hospital. She'd sit with me for however long and have chemo. She'd drive me home before taking me back to school to make sure that she cooked me lunch. She'd cook me lunch, whether it was a sandwich or whatever. She'd just make sure that I was fed and then drive me back to school, where then she'd do one last lap around the bank, the post office and any other trip she had to do, and then come back, pick my sister and I up and then get us home. And that was the rhythms of the week. And so, yeah, all heavy and the moments of feeling like everything's doom and gloom. But at no point did I ever lose any kind of any feeling that it's all going to be fine. Like I genuinely was like, it's going to be fine. Like, keep going.
As an adult, have you? Because that's incredible for them to. What an amazing. I see I totally understand that your answer is they're grateful for them as part of this story when you first started, hearing the way that they sort of shepherded and guided you through this awful time.
Yeah.
But as an adult, have you ever had a conversation with them about any moments of doubt or fear that crept in for them that it might not work out?
No, I don't think so. Only for Mum not really enjoying talking about it that much. I know she'll probably be either avoiding listening this or listening to it with, we don't need to go through that again. You know what I mean? But, they're super proud of me for the work that I've done, but also, they love that I've got, beautiful family and there's a focus in life and there's we're off. You know what I mean? Like, it's all good.
Yeah.
And it's not for just like, all right, cut him out. See you later. You go do you. Although I do feel like I need to be more communicative in terms of how I, when you decide to be a cook, when you're 15, when you decide to leave home after finishing year 10 and you go off and you cook, you kind of decide to go all in. Like, it's a fairly obsessive career choice and a fairly, like, you either let it completely consume you or you choose what you want to do within it. And for me, it was just complete consumption, like just OTT, like anything to do with it, I want it. And you want me there early? Cool, I'll be there. I can remember working for Luke Mangan and he came over and said, do you want to organise a few of the things for my morning show on Tuesdays at Channel 9? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, what time do I need to be at work? 5 o'clock. Okay, great. And I'll organise all those ingredients for you, make it all look like the TV show. Here's all the little bowls. Right. And that meant that then I could have 20 minutes in the car with Luke driving from the city to Crow's Nest so that I could ask him, oh, how's Japan going? And what are you doing over there? And how can you be in the air with Virgin and then be on the boats with P&O, but here with us at Glass? Like, how does that work? You know, you just like, you've got this unfiltered conversation where if you're able to, like, if you tried to do that in the kitchen, like it wouldn't, I'd be like, get your head down, like, let's go. Like, we've got people coming and it's busy. Whereas that was kind of like this access of, you know, hearing the stories. And that was amazing.
Like, it sounds like, and I don't know if the two are connected, but wanting to go back to school so quickly after the surgery and after being in hospital, after being in intensive care, I mean, I can only imagine, I mean, you've just described that it is the case, but I can only imagine the drive and ambition that you naturally have. I feel like anyone who's who's innovated anything in any way or had any sort of success in an industry, particularly like yours, has to be like, have this blind ambition to just at all costs do it and get it done. But do you, like, did that exist in you from like a young age?
I think the facing of your own mortality acts as an accelerant towards everything that you do. And that's probably, you know, I don't know, you don't want to say that it's the reason or the excuse for doing things in life, but, you know, I met my wife, Julie, when I was 19 and she was 18, and we were both in a cooking competition together. And she was a first-year apprentice. I was a fourth-year apprentice. We both won. And then at the end of it, I asked her to have dinner with me. We had dinner. And then the next day after that, there was no day after that for probably the best part of a year that we were apart. Every single day we were together. And then 3 years later, we got married, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, we got married when I was 22. You know, we had my son when we were 20. I was 25. And we opened St. Peter when I was 26. Like, there's just...
Don't waste time.
Yeah, and but also at no point in time was I like, come on, let's go. Like, we were partnership, like best mates, like, and like, you know, it's a really important partnership, like, because we love what we do, love having the family, and we make decisions because they make us feel good, and that's what fills us up. But I think playing sport as a kid, there's a certain drive and motivation of like wanting to train to then get a better result on the weekend. That's always been a very distinct characteristic of me personally. And I think that became then how I managed to navigate the completion of chemotherapy, the beginning of puberty, and you know, we need to give your son some steroids to get him back to weight and back to size because he's kind of, you know, a shell of a kid. And then that balloons the other way. And so then you're a fat kid, and then you just kind of like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I can remember mum just saying, well, you're probably going to need to do a bit of road work. And I'm like, well, okay, what does that look like?
What's road work?
Yeah, just get out on the track and run.
I'll run.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
When we had Nathan Cavalieri on, he spoke about his experience of having childhood cancer, and that there was a lingering for him. There was a sort of, I guess, not to paraphrase him, but my sort of interpretation of it was this sort of delayed aftershock that he experienced later of a sort of anxiety from living in this state for a long period of time, of not knowing whether he was going to be okay or whether he was going to survive.
Interesting.
Yeah, I wondered if you've had any experience where there's been a sort of delayed kind of trauma or grief or...
Yeah, I think maybe two occasions sparked to mind quickly is when I was at the hospital and I got out of intensive care and I was in this ward with mum where she'd now gotten a slightly comfier chair to sleep in and I was in a slightly comfier bed, and, you know, things were starting to get a little bit better. She was able to take me out in the wheelchair to kind of go to a coffee shop and go see outside for a little bit, and that was nice. And then I remember the doctors coming and go, oh, we've got you a spot now down at Ronald McDonald's house. So you'll be able to stay the night down there. Mum will have her own bed. You'll be, you know, a lot more comfortable. And so we got down there and I just remember I freaked out. I'm like, I'm too far away from the doctors. I can't do this. Like, we've got to go back. So Mum missed out on the bed and back we go. So there was that. And then I can remember when we opened the restaurant in Singapore, I was over there and it was after, like, it was a good few months after opening, but I was in the hotel room And I remember getting sent the message saying, "Oh, your Australian story's on tonight. Like you should watch it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." It's like best part of 12 weeks worth of filming, all consolidated into 28 minutes worth of content. I'm just like, wow, let's see how this goes. And I watched it in my hotel room away from my family, and I was a mess. I was in tears. I had to turn it off close to the end. It was so much because there were snippets in there from when I was a kid and stuff. And at the same time, like my kids are little, and you start thinking about everything, and it's just that was a time where I was kind of looked back and thought, well, I was pretty lucky, and also then mum and dad are pretty amazing. So
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that actually, because I remember hearing from a psychologist once when I was thinking about something that I went through when I was younger. They're like, when your kids get to that age, it's going to be really hard for you to
totally.
Yeah,
I remember being worried on my son's 8th birthday.
Yeah,
for best part of a week, either side of it.
Yeah, is it really hard to be a present, to not let that fear overtake your parenting at points?
No, I don't let that. I don't think about that at all, to be honest. It was only specifically on my son's 8th birthday that I really was like, oh my goodness, like this is what I looked like, or what I was having a great time playing with my mates, going to school, everything's great, cool sisters, like, play PlayStation, hang out, like all this sort of stuff. And it's and then all of a sudden then it all changes. And so there was that feeling, definitely. But even watching the footage of when I was that age, I could see, I could see his eyes as well, and that was messed up, like that. So, but I don't think about those things, not for suppressing it, but just for, I don't fear it. I don't have discomfort with it. I'm completely resolved in it all. I don't worry about necessarily. I don't think about my health, or like I hope everything's okay. Like it's, 20. I don't know. It's a long time ago. 30 years ago.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a tough thing to have to leave your childhood a bit early.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the things that helped you maintain a state of normality or a feeling of being a child were camp quality, where you're able to go off to camp and have great times. You ride a horse and, do clay work and go, on a hot air balloon, like do all these amazing things that you, as a normal kid, you probably wouldn't even get to do. But then, you're fortunate then to get to go and do. And then as well, then Starlight Foundation give you a wish. And they literally come and knock on your door and say, your son's able to have a wish. What would you like to do? And at that point in time, there was no parameters around what that wish looked like. And so I feel like I
want to be on Kitchen Nightmares.
Yeah. I feel like I rinsed their budget at that time, and I apologize. And that's why I've continued to do the Starlight 5 Chefs dinners every year to raise money so I can pay all the money back.
What was the wish?
So the wish was that I wanted to go and watch the Chicago Bulls play basketball.
Oh.
So
what year was that?
97.
Oh, no. Was it?
Yeah. So
so that was Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan,
comeback year,
Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Steve Kerr, Ron Harper. Like ridiculous. And we went there. Bill Paxton, went there the week before Christmas. We got flown over. I remember crazy times. I remember getting taken up to the front of the plane and get to have a look at the cockpit while the pilots are flying. And then which is ridiculous.
Could have flown it for a bit as well back then.
And then getting off the plane, and then the limo driver comes and picks you up and then drives you to the Ritz-Carlton, and then you're there with the family, and we got to see Chicago snowing, Christmas Eve, Miami Heat versus Chicago Bulls. You get there, here's the jersey, here's the hat, here's, all the merch and stuff. Let's take you down courtside and we'll see them warm up.
Is that Alonzo Mourning as well for Miami?
Would have been Harold Miner, I reckon.
Oh, Harold Miner, maybe.
I can't remember the names. That was not in my concern at all.
You didn't say the Starlight. I'd love to go and see the Miami Heat play.
Right, who are the Bulls playing against before we go on a plane?
That's it. Is Barkley going to be there? Yeah. No, so so we got there, come courtside, we'll have a look, and then Luke Longley's there waiting on the courtside, and he goes, "You must be Josh," and this towering 7-foot Aussie giant that was just the most lovely, sweet, kind, awesome guy you've ever met, and I remember I was literally up to his belly button, and I just remember looking up and like, my God, this is awesome.
Did you meet Michael?
No. No, we proximity, sure, but that limited access to him. There was like a certain charity that he was very attached to that went and did, but to become so close to it, that was enough.
That's amazing.
and for Luke to be so kind and generous as well. And then we went and sat in our seats, and I can remember my dad took a photo on his very new Canon camera that he was very proud of at the time, and he got a shot of Jordan at the free throw, and then they ended up winning by 12, and I can remember NBC or whoever it was, they came over to me mid-game, and they're like, "Oh, you must be Josh from Sydney, and you're here with the Starlight, and how do you feel?" And so I'm doing this interview, I'm like, yeah, this is great, and everything's awesome, and then I get home. And then we turn the TV on. It's quite late, and then there I am. And for the way American TV, it's like for the next 24 hours, I'm like looping on their sports kind of channels. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And
amazing.
Given that was Christmas Eve as well, we got back and there was a tree in the room, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then we said to Mum and Dad before we went to bed, I'm like, do you reckon Santa's going to find me? And they're like, oh, he'll be waiting for us when we get home.
Yeah.
And we wake up, presents, unbelievable. And that was the year I think the Toy Story came out. So it was like you got your Buzz Lightyear doll. It was crazy.
Wow.
And it snowed. And it was just one of those experiences where you're like, I never had, in your brain, I never was sick. And this is the greatest day ever.
Yeah.
And I don't feel sick at all. And everything's great.
Wow.
And even though I've got no hair and things are still pretty rough ahead of us, this is awesome. And so I'm completely indebted and always will be very... Yeah, I'll do anything for Starlight.
That's proper magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just to hear that description of how it made you feel and forget about, because I've heard about Starlight Foundation, know what they do, but I've never actually thought about properly what it actually means to a child going through what you're going through.
And I was very fortunate to do a lot of these dinners now every year, this annual kind of Starlight dinner, and you're up on stage, and you're trying to auction some prizes and stuff. And then one year they sort of said, "Josh, can you tell your story to everybody?" So I recounted the whole thing, and everybody was like, "Wow, it's amazing!" Full circle thing. And
just don't tell them how we flew to Chicago, because we don't quite do that anymore.
Well, this is now it's so Johnny's going to Movie World, and I'm like, fuck. Oh, I'm really sorry, guys.
This year it's just going to be a 2-park superpass. There's one thought I had when I was looking through your book, your new book, but also just thinking about just the philosophy that you have using the whole fish, and it's just, and I might be reading into this too much, and there might not be a connection, but there was something really nice about it as sort of like a metaphor for life in terms of making the most of every part of your life. There is sort of a nice parallel there in terms of going through what you went through as an 8-year-old and how that's clearly, like you say, it kind of supercharges basically your want to do things quickly and you don't want to wait. And there's some sort of cohesion with those two ideas. I don't know if you've ever thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember, there's always been a feeling of impatience. And I remember being sat down by a gentleman named Simon Marnie, who's a brilliant journalist, but also communicator. He was on ABC Radio for a long time. But I remember he sat me down in a coffee shop, and I was trying to talk to him about, so I want to go and work for this guy, and, this is what I'm going to do, and then by the time I'm 24, I'm going to have this, and then 26 will be this, and then, I was telling him year for year what's going to happen and how it's going to go down. And he goes, "Josh, it's not a sprint. You got to learn how to be a marathon runner."
And you were like, "Bullshit, watch this."
But it was an interesting point in time when he said that, and I took it on board, of course, and but there is that kind of parallel between using the entirety of something and making the most of every experience you get. Of course, I do think like that a lot. I think, to me, the aesthetic that the book carries, the way that I put food together on a plate, the way that I think about food and fish and all that sort of stuff comes from just the romance of craftsmanship and doing things with your hands and doing something that didn't exist before and now it does.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I love that. Like, and you know, the breakdowns and the compositions of fish, like when you start with a whole fish and then you take it apart into every single thing that it could be and lay it out back together again like a puzzle.
Well, there's literally, in your new book, there's literally a fold out.
Yeah,
Like it's like
the
a
old centerfold.
Yeah. Like a centerfold where it's like when it's closed, you see the full fish.
Yeah.
And literally it's photographed
Yeah.
like a flat lay
Yeah.
of every single element.
Yeah.
And it's quite incredible to see how much you can get out of what is just what people just, that's just a fish.
Yeah. That fish was 9 kilos and it cost $600.
Whoa.
Well,
And yeah, it costs a fortune. Like I'm of course adding the logistics into it and, you know, all of that. But then, yeah, if you look at that, it's $300 that might end up cast aside.
Yeah.
And if perhaps you look at it in terms of restaurant value and you look in the old terms of how you would mark up something, you times 4 to kind of recover, you know, the labor and the rent and all that sort of stuff. So you're looking at the potential of $2,400 worth of restaurant value within that single fish. But if you start with 300, then it's $1,200 worth of potential. And it's one of those things that I constantly think about. And a lot of the work that we've ever done at St. Peter, whilst seemingly stems from a mindset and framework of ethics and sustainability and save the planet and save the oceans and all of that, which I'm 100% all behind, but 100% from the very first moment of trying to start to work out what I could do with the fish was born from fear of the restaurant closing and the kids being on the street, Julie leaving me, lose the house, business closes, the most hyperbolic, ridiculous things that you could possibly think of. They're all going to happen if you cock this up.
Yeah.
And so that was the engine that fueled the creativity. And I don't believe that you can have innovation and creativity without a problem. And for me, the solution wasn't to then buy cheaper fish or to remove people from the system. It was to look at what we have and make the very, very best of it and apply ourselves creatively, emotionally, intelligently to our product. And then from there, be generous with how we share it in terms of how we orientate it on the plate, how we communicate it on social media and things, but as well, even if it's not perfect, share it because I believe in it and I care about it. So yeah, if you're out there and you're toying with the idea of maybe starting something or thinking about, I don't know whether I should or it's pretty risky and I'm not sure, I'm not saying to go just shoot from the hip and give it a crack. Like there needs to be a bit of intelligence and thought behind it, but yeah, stop overthinking it. Like just if you believe in it, you're passionate about it, and the desire is there to want to do it over and over and over and over again, even if it, even if it drives you a little bit loopy, then it's worth doing. Like you boys show up and do this podcast, even on days where you probably would do something else, perhaps. But but you put the reps in. And then all of a sudden you've got a body of work that is really valuable to people and people's lives. And when you're sitting in a very small little studio and you're just, having a yarn, like this is an important conversation that's happening in somebody's car right now. And the voices that you have in your head and your self-chat changes upon hearing and reflecting of what this is. So yeah, I think it's interesting.
On your list of things to do, was there create the most beautiful book? I've got it here.
Yeah.
This book
Unbelievable.
So this is your new book, Josh.
Even if you like, that is, where's the camera? That one there.
There's about 18 years.
Sorry, on your that's it there. It's the most beautiful book you'll ever see. If you're listening and not Just get onto YouTube
Yeah,
now and watch on
yeah.
YouTube
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's incredible.
I
I mean,
it.
even like you guys got this, I think yesterday you said, and then I only got it 2 days ago. So I'm still looking at like, oh, it's pretty good.
Well, it was in here, and Josh looked at it, and Josh, you said, surely we can't have this for free. Like, it seems too good.
Yeah.
So what is the book? Just for people.
So St. Peter chapter and verse, published again by Hardy Grant. So Hardy Grant backed me in the very beginning when I sat through a couple of meetings for, like, I think it was 2018. I was like, oh, I kind of think it'd be cool to write a book because I think there's a lot of things that we're doing at the restaurant that I'd like to put into pages and just kind of put a stamp on it and go, we did that and that was great. And now I can do the next thing.
Yeah.
And I saw the Whole Fish Cookbook as this perfect, imperfect product that I wrote on my phone in 8 weeks. And I was on my mobile like for 8 weeks and I got it done. And you know, that was born from earlier in the year, sitting through different publishing houses, interviews, kind of going, okay, so what do you want to do? And you're like, well, I want to write a book. And what's the book about? Fish. You know, like I've got a restaurant in St. Peter and I want to do this. Okay, well, fish books don't sell that well. And you're just kind of like, okay, sure. And then they're like, oh, but maybe we could do it like, and I'm like, okay, yep. And so you're listening to all this stuff and you're like, that's not it. And then finally I meet this wonderful woman, Jane Wilson, who, you know, her background in food journalism and stuff. So she kind of gets it. And she was great to talk to creatively. And, you know, she said, we hear you want to write a book. We're all behind you. You do you, we'll do us. And I'm like, okay, great. I said, so she goes, when do you want it out? And I said, September 1. And then they're like, how much of it have you written? And I said, I haven't started. And then they're like, well, you know, a book's like, it's quite big and it's got recipes and photos. I'm like, yeah.
I've seen them in the shops. I know what books are.
I know. And so then I said, well, when's the deadline? And they said, well, for a book like that and coming out, it'd need to be with us January 14. I said, great, no worries. And this was kind of mid-October. And, you know, Julie was pregnant with our third child at that time and summer and busy. And so then I literally, the reason for doing it on the phone was, one, because I didn't have a laptop, but also because I was literally any opportunity. I was like, I'd get out of the car and I'd be at the back of the restaurant. I'd be like typing on my way up the stairs into the restaurant. All right, start working. And then I'd be in the cool room trying to write the menu, but also going, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I'll write that in. And then at the end of the night, You'd be up there punching that in. And then, yeah. So
James Beard Award.
Yeah. But this book is really, it's not the whole fish. It's not Take One Fish and it's not Fish Butchery that I wrote previously. This book is meant to be here's 10 years between covers and all the hard things, all the great things. And it's not trying to be a book specifically written just for hospitality professionals. This is meant to be so that you boys can pick it up and go, like that's interesting from a leadership management point of view.
It's like the whole picture of running a business interesting.
So,
amazing.
So there is a very heavy narrative to it in the sense that I really wanted to unpack everything that we did and how we went about it and some decisions and hard decisions that we had to make. But it's meant to show what we do on a day-to-day and all of the people and all the efforts they go to on a daily basis to do something that hopefully is of value to people that come to the restaurant. Yeah.
I cannot wait to come to your restaurant or one of them.
No, we've got some rooms there now so you can sleep with the fishes upstairs. And
oh, true. You've got it's a little hotel.
Yeah.
Gee, that's great.
That's where we're staying.
And all the sheets are made of fish eye.
That's it.
Yeah.
And the fish fat soap that you wash your hands with and the fish fat candles that burn. Yeah, actually. Yeah. No fish eye linen, but yeah, that's but some of the we did manage to get a lot of those nice things that we'd worked out from a culinary perspective. We'd managed to modify that and drop it into the room. So fish bone coffee mugs and fish fat soap is pretty fun.
Josh, thank you so much.
Oh,
I mean, I'd met you once before, but it's such a pleasure to hang out with you. I hope we become very good friends.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What a sign off.
No, I won't settle for
You've
just
never
friends.
done that before.
Just very good friends.
First time.
No, I appreciate it. Really, what this podcast is brilliant. And I mean, there's so many people that listen to this in different, periods of I don't know, whatever their life is showing them right now, whether it's good or bad, this is a nice escape, or it gives insight into maybe helping them solve problems for themselves. And hopefully I've been able to give some insight into my world. And yeah, I think long story short, you just enjoy yourself. Try to relax. Don't just take a second. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like take a deep breath and you can keep going. You don't need to catastrophize everything.
Love that.
Beautiful. Thank you, mate.
What a great end.
Pleasure. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode and want a little more, you might enjoy our subscriber-only apps, available on Patreon and Apple Podcasts. If you want a little more but don't want to pay any more, then you can join our newsletter at theimperfects.com.au. And while you're there, you'll be able to see the names and faces of all the incredible people who help make this show. A show made on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people, and we pay our respects to elders past and present. The Imperfects is not a licensed mental health service and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, treatment, or assessment. The advice given in this episode is general in nature, but if you're struggling, please see a healthcare professional or call Lifeline on 13 11 14.